Some conversations will be mind-blowing and you'll sit there and you'll have the most profound change.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Is it morning or afternoon?
Just morning. Oh no, it's afternoon, isn't it? It's 12:57.
I was going to say
It's an age thing. Don't worry about that.
It's all right. It doesn't matter whether it's morning or afternoon. We're here.
That's it. That's the main thing.
There you go. So the way I roll is we're going to go straight into this. So
Lovely.
Thank you. Thanks for taking the time to come and chat with me over 52 conversations, which is really just a space for storytelling and sharing and spreading a message, I guess, for different people. Okay. So I'm going to be completely honest. Until we had a chat last week briefly, we were kind of introduced by Steve. Shout out to Steve.
Right.
And we had a bit of a chat, and I thought, yeah, let's have a conversation. So in a way, that's really cool for me because I don't know an awful lot about you other than the conversation we had. And I purposely didn't go and do any more research because then I'm coming to this conversation with new ears and new eyes as well, which
lovely.
Hopefully there'll be a whole bunch of people listening as well. So I guess the first thing that I would do is ask you I used to have a radio show in Antigua, and when I had people come on, I always used to say to them, can you introduce yourself as who you think you are today? Just to see what response I got. So there you go. That's your intro space.
Well, my name's Crossley, and for the last 30 years, I've been working with businesses and individuals to let them know how powerful they are once they harness the power of their mind. I haven't been I've been very successful doing that, and I've found that the people that buy into it and relax into it get great results, and funnily enough, those that fight it and start trying to direct operations don't have very good results. So that's me today, 73 years old, still at it. And I just get excited talking about mindset and different things of how we sort of can take control of our lives. And hopefully all the time that I can still talk, I'll keep doing it.
That sounds cool. I want to correct you then. So you're 73 years young.
Young, yes. Yeah.
Because I don't allow my mum when she says, oh, I'm old. I said, no, you're not. You're 77 years young. Come on,
right.
keep it on the right side. So that was a really good introduction about work and what you do now. So to get to where we are today, I'd love to unravel your story to go back. So you gave me a bit of an insight about where you've been before. And I always think when we share our story and we share the highs, the lows, the ups and downs, that's where we often get the greatest learnings and the inspiration, right? So if you're happy to, do you want to share a little bit?
Nothing's off limits.
Okay, let's start with your backstory then.
Right. So how far did you want to go back?
Oof, I don't know. Where were you born? Because you told me last. Go on.
I was born in Hammersmith in London.
Okay. And then you ended up in Australia somehow though. So
1988, I went to, what happened was I started my first business when I was 16, 17 years old, and been entrepreneurial all my life. I met the love of my life in, I think it was 1967, something like that. And we worked together in business. She left the job that she was doing and we've worked in businesses, had lots and lots of different businesses. And in 1988, we'd had a young daughter. She was 4 years old, and we went to visit my parents in Perth in Australia, where they'd emigrated. And we thought, what a wonderful place to bring up a child. So we made our application and got the points. They change all the time, but we got the points. They wrote back very quickly, said, yeah, you've got the points. So we jumped on a plane in 1988 and we went to Australia to continue the voyage.
Okay. So I've got to ask the question, how old were your parents when they decided to go off to Australia? Were they youngish, oldish?
Oh no, they would have been 55, I suppose, 55 or 60. I'm not sure the age. They literally, I think they went to escape us. They had 3 boys, and no, I think they just, it was a little bit too much. And I think
because I was going to ask, was there other family, or they just suddenly thought,
no,
right, hey,
no, the only person they knew in Australia was someone that my dad had worked with 30 years prior. And that was the only person that they knew. And they jumped on a boat and off they went. And my mum kept a diary of that trip, which was rather nice. And then, as I say, I think it was 1986, Val and I went out there, visited them, and it was just we were just driving around and see the kids on the beach doing their swimming lessons and sitting under trees doing their, out there in the class. It was just seems like an idyllic sort of way of life. So we decided to go, and that's what happened. What happened in Australia sort of molded our life forever, which I'm here now doing what I do as a direct result of things that happened there.
Okay, so are you willing to share a bit of that story? Because it wasn't all plain sailing, right?
No. Well, what had happened, we'd always been in property, and as I say, we've been entrepreneurial. We'd had a rest home, I'd had garages, I'd had greengrocers shops, I'd had antique shops, car yards, just anything.
So very mixed.
Just entrepreneurial, serial entrepreneur. And I went out there and I thought, well, that's it. I always say, as long as there's a chimney pots around, I'll be able to make money. So we got to Australia, and we always used to do property, which was our sort of big chunks of money. We doing property, and we decided we were going to do it over there. Well, my cousin, who was a bricklayer, come out and said, you can't do that. He said, you've got to have a license. Well, I didn't bother to check. I just thought, oh, well, that. So for the first time in my life, I invested in a business and went into partnership with someone, and we bought a security company that we built up to become the largest supplier of personnel in Australia.
Wow.
And everything was going well, and it was for we used to do personal security for all the touring bands and all the pop stars, and we used to do the stuff, the work on the clubs, on the door work, and we did some response stuff. We did the Houses of Parliament and all that type of thing. So it's quite a big operation, 250 staff. And one day I woke up to a phone call from someone saying, with so-and-so, we're going with a new supplier. Right. And I just couldn't believe it. And one of the guys that I'd taken from the door to make a director of the company was working behind the scenes, getting all the things, because on the door work and the security work, there was no contracts. Okay. It was just sort of shake of the hand. Obviously, the Houses of Parliament and all that was a contract, but that wasn't a major part of the work. Mm-hmm. And just during the day, January the 6th, it all just unraveled. And this guy that I took off the door, that had been a guest of ours at Christmas, had formed a new company and taken all the
wow,
the business. But there were bits and pieces left. But I call it sunk investment. That you make a decision based on right and wrong. You don't look at the money you've invested or the time that you've invested. You say it's right or wrong. Say, look, I've got the energy, really, the fragments that have left, have I got the energy to do something with it? And I just felt I was just worn out. And it was, as I say, with regards, like it was the what the guy had done that hurt more than the money, really, because time will always put your pocket right. You can always get it, but it will never take away what someone's done to you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was taking from that it came over, it felt personal, right? Because you clearly trusted this guy, you gave him an opportunity, and then he kind of
precisely. And the silly thing is that if he'd have come to me and said that he had that ambition to run a business, I'd have said, look, because that's what I used to do, was put them under management or sell them or whatever. I wasn't a long-term sort of person that wanted to sort of create something, you know, big building with lights on the top of it and all that. No, I was in there. So if he'd have said that to me, I'd have said, right, do it, head it up, and I'll be there to support you. But unfortunately, he'd never run a business of that size before, and it really was Val and I that were the engine. So very quickly he jumped from the bottom of the steps to the top of the steps, and when things went wrong, he was in dodgy territory all the time, and quite over a few years it went wrong and he lost it, which is a shame really, because, you know, and I met him years later, and I did really feel sorry for him, because you know, his life had just fallen apart, and for my sins, you know.
That says something about you, though, that you felt sorry for him, right? Did he feel sorry?
Well,
regrets towards you for what he'd done?
He didn't have to say anything. You know, I picked up
You knew.
the 35, but you see, but the thing is that I'd gone on this journey because of what happened. I couldn't make anything happen, which really came as a shock to me, because I'd sort of turn a puddle into a tourist attraction. You know, it just, my mind was live, and I'd been very, very successful. And all of a sudden I couldn't make anything work. And it came as a bit of a shock. So I wanted to find out why that happened. And then I started studying, and I found out that I studied actually a thing called The Science of Getting Rich, which was a book written in 1910. And in there, I'd seen it a few years before it was being sent around on the internet. Yeah. And I'd seen it a few years before. One line stuck with me, and that's what made me go and you say, as you're told in this book, you cannot fail to get rich or successful or whatever, but you can't fail. Basically, let's leave the N word off. If you do exactly what it says in this book, you can't fail. And no one had ever said that before. Right. And I'd studied everything, all the books and all the Stephen Covey and all the different, you know, Bob Proctor, all the people,
all of those,
but nothing worked. So, so I said, in all fairness, if I'm going to do this, I've got to do it right. Then if it doesn't work, I know for sure it doesn't work. But if it does work, I know for sure it does work. So I can't cut any store. Whatever it says, I've got to do, however difficult. So I did that. And it was just strange how things just started changing. My mindset changed. I started relaxing, which was the major part of what I learned, was the fact that nothing works unless you're relaxed. And it was just quite amazing. And from that point, within 3 years and there's another bit to it where I lost everything, because what happened when I thought I was broke and I sold all the bits and pieces before the bank got involved, and I had $250,000. Well, I thought I was broke. Everyone around me thought I had a few quid, because 30 years ago in Australia, that was an enormous amount. But to me, once again, learning about the mindset, I'm sitting there thinking I'm broke. Everyone else thinks I'm rich. So the first nugget, if you want, is reframe. When things change what you think, right? Because I was now thinking that I'm broke, and I went then, and as I say, in the stress situation, trying to invest that 250,000 to get the millions back that I lost in 5 minutes, and that doesn't work. No. And so eventually, after 2 years, I was absolutely broke. But from that point and the studying, in 3 years, having been up the steps before, every step made sense. So I wasn't familiarizing myself with what was happening, because I'd been successful. So the second journey up, or the third or fourth or fifth journey, is very, very, it's very sort of dramatic. And I ended up after 3 years with another big house, nice car, factory, opened a new business, blah, 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 blah. And everything was right. And I thought, great, what a fantastic thing. And then I started putting it together. And then I forget how long ago, but I ran a workshop for young entrepreneurs. I thought, I've got to tell people about this.
Yeah. So
And
you
I
want
ran
to
a
share your
workshop for young
learning,
entrepreneurs.
basically.
Precisely. It was so valuable. And here's me after 30 years of doing it. It's just unbelievable that I still get excited, because I just want everyone to know what they're capable of doing. So I ran this workshop, and a rider to that is one of the guys that was at that very first workshop, came back to me 2 years ago as a client, and we're now together on his business. So it must have had some effect on him, because he got himself into trouble and he lost his business, and he came to me because he knew my story, and we've actually put him back on the map, which is nice. And that's in Australia. So so I just set about trying to tell as many people as possible what I'd learned. And the thing is that it's simplicity itself, but it's the hardest thing you ever have to do, to fight all those voices in your head that tell you that what this is telling you to do is wrong, because you've been programmed incorrectly. Because basically, we're not programmed as free spirits. We start as a free spirit and then get programmed to be controlled. Right?
Absolutely. It's like we give away our freedom.
What you have to do, people, it's what you make, not what you're about to learn. Sorry?
We give away our freedom without knowing that we're giving it away. Or let's say our parents start the initiation of us giving away our freedom as soon as they send us out into the world with schools and other people pitching in, and the TV and marketing, etc.
Getting a bit of a I just had I think that the old internet, I'm having a bit of trouble with the internet lately, but I think it's all right. There was just a little bit of am I going in and out for you?
It is going in and out, but hopefully it's doable. Maybe the techie can sort some of it out when they get it ready. It's all hearable. It's every so often there's a bit of lag, but I think we're getting the gist of it. So I think that's it. So in terms of, I'm looking at that great big thing behind you, and you've got relax, relax, relax 3 times. And you've already talked about, when you were stressed, so you learned to relax. So what specifically were your tips for yourself and to share with other people then? How did you suddenly learn to go from stress to relax? Or not suddenly, what actions did you take?
Right. Okay. So this is a journey, and I say I was on another talking to some people this morning, and it is a journey. None of this stuff's mine, and no one owns this stuff. It's been around for years and years. It's been wrapped up differently. It's been wrapped up as religion. It's been wrapped up as culture. It's been but the basis is the same. It doesn't matter how many books you read. Once you actually know what's going on, every book is based around these teachings. And I got to the point where I used to find points. It's like I've got a sleep process whereby when you go to bed at night and you get circular thought, I've got a process as well. It's because it's a circle. There's no beginning, no end. It's just going round and round. So you have to straighten that out. So I say, think about something that you know the result.
Okay.
So if it's your wedding or a holiday you've been on, so you start the journey. So it's not circular thought, it's a straight line.
Yeah.
And once you straighten it out and you head in a straight line, you start relaxing.
Because there's no what if. So there's no what if.
That's it, precisely. So that is the one simple thing that you can do, even in the day, is that you can change your thought. And even if you just get relief for 10 minutes, it's proof positive that you are in control. And it's that knowledge and belief of the power that you've got over your thoughts and what your thoughts can produce that create the energy and the results. And as I say, every single day, what I've learned over the time that I've been doing this is, as I say, there's nothing new. There's just new ways of explaining it, and I try and make it so that people don't have to sort of suspend belief and sort of smoke dope and lie on a desert island and all that sort of thing to sort of work. Well, it's nothing to do with that. It is all 100%. In fact, if you want to study quantum physics, apparently that proves a lot of this stuff, but it was the most boring 6 months of my life when I tried to sort of untangle it all. So I gave it up and just said, look, I just know it works. If you believe me and trust me, I can help you. If you don't believe and trust me, I can't help you, unfortunately, because you've got to have that total relaxation, and you've got to trust the messenger. Yeah, and once you trust the messenger, then you don't have to go and make all the mistakes that the messenger's made. So yeah, you just, I say, if you do that, that'll happen. Relax, trust it, and it happens. Then you say, oh, thanks a lot. Give us the next little bit of little information, and so it goes on. But the thing is, it is, and I know, because I went through this thing of falling off the horse lots of times, but you've just got to pick yourself up, as it says in the song, dust yourself down and start again. Because once you get it together, I mean, I could not, in my wildest dreams, when I was 18 or 20 years old, believe that I'd be at my age now, doing what I do, having what I got, and having lost everything around about 40 years old. Mm-hmm. And got back, that seemed to be a defining point of saying, this time take notice, you fool. This time, don't keep running up the top of them restaurants that are whizzing around the top of these big buildings, eating lovely steaks and drinking $300 bottles of wine and all that, because I didn't learn a lot up there. It was great fun, but this journey through, I started enjoying what I think were the better things of life, which was going to sort of remote places. And we used to, in Australia, it was crazy because we used to say to people, have you been to so-and-so? They go, no. And they've been in Perth all their life, never even been south of the river, some people. I mean, it's sort of very parochial. And we used to go off on all these adventures because it's amazing places, you know. Yeah. And so I found a new way of enjoying myself. And basically, I sort of put together, being rich is doing what you want to do when you want to do it and having the time and money to allow you to do it. And I don't like the word rich because it conjures up terrible things. I call it success. I call it success. But because success as rich to different people, as I say, 250,000 all those years ago, to I was skint, to other people it was a hell of a lot of money. So it's all relevant. So it's better to just say what we're all seeking is happiness, right? So, and that's where it starts. But the point is, because we're looking for happiness, everyone thinks it's the end, but it's not. So I wrote something very early on: wherever happiness goes, success and wealth are sure to follow. Right. So that's what it's all about. Once you're in that state of relaxation and happiness, everything else will unfold. Okay. Now, it's not a charter to, as I say, to sort of the things you've still got to put in the effort. There's no magic here. The results are magical, but this is a formula. And if you do it, it can't go wrong. It can't fail you. And it hasn't failed me, and it hasn't failed my clients over a long period of time. And
it's interesting that made me think of Light Watkins, who you may or may not have heard of. He's a yoga teacher, meditation, things like that. And he was on a Rich Roll podcast some time ago. And he said, basically, the work is the shortcut. That is the only shortcut, right? And I was like, yeah, that's it in simplicity. Because if we don't put the work in, and in terms of your work, all your experiences are your work as well, right?
That's it.
You take all the gifts from that.
Precisely. And the thing is that, you know, once you've got something to refer back to, you see, and the noise people, I'll give you a very quick story.
Yeah.
I don't get rattled now because I've got to a situation now where when things happen, however bad they are, I go, have I done everything I can? Is there anything else I can do? happening. So by the time it's happened, I'm at peace because I've made a decision. There's something I can do. What am I going to do? There's nothing I can do. Therefore, I can relax. So I'm playing golf, which I love. I play golf 3 or 4 times a week, and that goes in my diary before anything else. That, to me, is the ultimate success. Right?
That's your important.
So well, all the important things go in first, you know.
Yeah.
Then I was playing golf, and my mate had skewed one off the tee into the things, and there's a lake. So I parked my trolley up, went in and looked, couldn't find this ball, come out. I said, someone's nicked my trolley. Oh my God. So I walked up, had a look, and where the hell could it be? And he started up and he pointed, it had rolled into the lake.
Right.
Okay. So immediately I've gone, there's a chance here that I'm going to lose me clubs and whatever. We're not going to be able to get it out. I was totally at peace with it. As it happens, we got it, and I've got a video. He started videoing it, and we pulled it out. And then I had this special ball thing that would, if I'd had a normal one, I couldn't have done it. But this was a new one that they've just brought out that I bought a few weeks ago. That actually we hooked the clubs out of the thing. I was just lost 1 club. Well, that was just unbelievable. And they said, "Oh dear, you stayed calm," but a lot of people would have gone, you know, but that's it. And it changes everything. It changes the dynamics on everything. Everyone was calm. I wasn't panicking or rushing around. So it just shows you that you are in control.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, what you did was you chose to let go of whatever the outcome was going to be the outcome, and you were going to feel the same way, regardless.
Whatever the outcome was, I was at peace with it. The bottom line was, I look like there's a chance here I'm going to lose me clubs. That is the worst that could have happened.
Yeah.
Right. So everything else, whatever we got back, every time something come out was the reason for excitement and joy, you know, rather than looking at it the other way. That precisely. And so I haven't actually lost anything. I haven't lost a club. I had some more clubs back here, and they all laugh when I get it out now. It's a different make and a different grip on it. And one day that'll come back, because they have the boys go in there and with the wetsuits on and pick all the balls up. So next time they're there, I know exactly where it is. I say, do us a favour, just have a little fumble about and get me 8 arm with you. And I know that'll happen. That'll happen.
That's cool, isn't it? So it's very much, I mean, being centered in yourself, trusting the process and trusting yourself.
Precisely. So the basic thing is that, you know, I say to people sometimes, they say I feel lost. I say, well, where are you going? Well, I don't know. They've got no destination and they feel lost. I say, well, that's why you feel lost. You don't know where you're going. Yeah. So there's 3 things in its basic form. After all that I know, all that I've discovered, and listen, there's loads more, but these 3 things: make a goal. And make it what you want, not what you think you can get. Because what we make the mistake of doing is we never push ourselves enough, because we always try and work out. Because when people say, "Oh, make a goal," and then reverse engineer it. Well, if you knew how to get there, why ain't you there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So, you know, make it a stretch. Make it something that you want, and do make it what you want. Not all these dreams about bloody aeroplanes and yachts. I've got clients who's got a 62-meter boat. He's the most miserable man I've ever met. But so you make where you are, you get a destination, right? That destination, and people say to me, they say, well, how do I get there? And I go, I ain't got a clue, but I know you will if you can follow me. So, well, how? I say, everyone wants to know how. You just listen, this is a process, but I tell you what I do know for certainty. Once you know where you're going, the next step becomes obvious. And that is the how. That's the first bit. So it's not one big how, it's loads of little hows. So when you've completed that step, the next step becomes obvious. Right, know where you're going. Then this is the most important bit. Make where you are where you want to be. Because everyone is saying, I'll put up with this until I get there. I'll make do with this. I'll just put up with it until I get up the No, 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 no. Make yourself where you want to be, because we're always in a state of escape.
Yeah.
We are either looking and saying, oh, it was all right until I lost my business and all that money, and oh, I hope I get all the money back again. So we're never present, right? And that's the problem. Our problem, our problems disappear once we stabilize ourselves and make where we are where we want to be. And a lot of the time we're chasing to get somewhere else. But a lot of the time when I work with people, where they are ain't a bad place once they start making it. Like, you know, they said, oh, I ain't bothering to do that because I'm moving in a couple of years. No.
Do it now.
If the gate squeaks and drives you mad, put a bit of bloody oil on it. Absolutely. Right? Silly little things like that. I mean, you can imagine after this lockdown what my house is like with my wife, and they're just sitting here, do what you want to do. It's like, you know, we're like Blackpool Illuminations, where she's gone mad on solar lights and this and that. But we're making it where we want to be. We sit out in our garden with a bit of sunshine. We've got 3 outdoor alfresco areas, and we truly believe we're on holiday.
There you go.
It's a fairyland, you know. But I ain't trying to escape anywhere. No. I'm quite happy, right? And then the last thing that you've got to do is you've got to get rid of all the rubbish from the past, because we use that as an excuse for things going wrong today. How you going, mate? Well, all right, but that divorce settlement, well, how long ago was that? Oh, about 10 years ago. You've been dragging that around for 10 years. How's that working for you? Let go of it. And the funny thing is, once you let go of the past, ping, don't worry about the future and just enjoy where you are, and everything sorts itself out.
Absolutely. So one of the things I quite often say to clients I'm coaching, or therapy, whatever it is the quality of your now is going to dictate the quality of the next now. And as soon as you said that, this now is already gone. So we're already into the next now. So you may as well make this now really a good now, so that your future memories are going to be like, wow, that was a good space to be, no matter what, exactly as you say. So how do you help people then to let go of the past? Because, you know, lots of people suffer that, right? Because they bring it with them and they carry it emotionally, mentally, physically, and then they create that behavior.
But the point is, you see, it's baggage. I call it the rucksack. So every time you ever thought of what the past going wrong, it's like putting another rock in the rucksack. So the more you're thinking about what went wrong, the worse the journey becomes, and it just weighs you down. So you've got to release it. I had to forgive that guy that nicked the business, and I went for help because I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. And even when I went for help, they said, you know, well, you've got to forgive him. I said, yeah, you're joking. It. You know what he done to me? And it was terrible. Yeah. But that was the old me, you know. And then they said, oh, well, you know, you've not only got to forgive him, but you've got to write him a letter. What? Yeah. Because I had my fingers crossed behind my back. I thought I'll be able to forgive him with my fingers crossed, and it won't count, see. Yeah. But anyway, so in the end, I did it, and I wrote the letter, because my wife said to me, she said, do as you're told. She said, you spend your whole life telling everyone else what to bloody do. Take some notice. She's the governor, really. So I did it. We wrote a letter, done everything. And I tell you something, because all that is that it's nothing to do with the other person, forgiveness. No. But that is to let you know that you have let go. Because by telling them that you have, right, just doing it don't work. But you've actually got to say that they now know that I've forgiven them. He actually thought I'd got a contract out on him, because he thought, what's going on here? Like, you know, writing me love letters, he said, and he's always wanted to kill me for the last 3 years. But I just did it, and as I did that, I went, everything changed. I went, because I wasn't protecting it anymore. I wasn't sort of, well, I will forgive him, but I ain't going to let him know I forgive him, because I'd done it. And it was a magical moment. Honestly, someone could have given me the news I'd been cured of cancer or something like that. It was the greatest feeling.
It's letting go. That point, it's letting go of that emotional barrier, isn't it?
Because you see, the thing is, once again, it's all, you know, we're in our head. I can't forgive him because people might think I'm weak because he did that to me and I forgave him. No, rubbish. Don't worry what other people think. Don't make decisions based on what others think. Base it on what serves you, right? And that's why people, you know, they hang on to the bad decision over the divorce, the bad settlement, because I can't ever say that I've accepted it, because that means that I'm a mug because she got 80% and I only got 20. It's all rubbish. Does it serve you? Go back to the past and bring every single thing that you've got or know that will serve you today. The rest of it, leave it there. If it's an event, forget it. If it's a person, forgive them. And I'm telling you, there's nothing in my past that is baggage. Nothing. All I've got in my past is fond memories and events. But I look at them now. I look at losing my business as one of the greatest lessons I've ever had. Yeah. If I hadn't lost my business, I wouldn't now be earning money teaching people what I know from that event.
Absolutely.
So, you know, so everything that, if you look at it correctly, it sort of, everything all slots in. There's nothing happens by accident. Nothing.
Absolutely. It's interesting, isn't it? Encouraging people to not be so fixated on the rear view mirror of what was, to, okay, let's be happy in the now. Let's see where we are. Let's be really grateful for that. And let's see, well, exactly as you say, what's my destination? What do I really want? How do I want it to be? And how am I going to take the action to get myself there, basically?
Precisely. But the wonderful thing is, sorry interrupted, but the wonderful thing is that things tend to go on autopilot. Let me just do a quick one with you now. Right, Janice.
Yes.
Go back 10 years.
Yes.
Mentally, go back 10 years. Can you imagine 10 years ago being where you are now?
Oh. Yes and no.
So what's the yes?
The yes is the geography of where I am now.
Right, but I'm talking more on you know, what you've achieved, like where you live, what you you know, what
but
you do.
To me it all comes together. So I would actually say yes, because of who I am and what I do. I'm very like, this is what I was going to do. I was going to go to the West Indies. I wasn't just going to be holidaying anymore. I was going to go there. I was going to set up my business. I was going to carry on growing my business. And then I was going to come back to England if and when something rubbish happened to one of my folks or my daughter had a baby. So actually, literally, I feel like I'm in that circle of belief that I set out, because I've done all of that stuff. My pops died at the beginning of this lockdown. Unfortunately, my daughter's just had her first baby. So I kind of feel like I've done this journey that I wanted to do.
So there's nothing really in your life now that you're surprised that you've got there?
Not really. And that's probably because I know, boring. But that's probably because I'm yeah. Well, in a way, I mean, there's so because I do what I do, which in a way is similar to what you do, we just do it in different ways, right? So I'm pretty, like, I know what my journey is. I know the things that I need to have in place to make me happy, to keep me cool. So I guess my only thing would be how I get cool again with being more in England than I am in the West Indies. That's my big thing right now, or my not so big thing. And that's still like recognizing, actually, I can still go to the West Indies when I want it. I can still do those things. It's just
precisely. But that surprises me. And in fact, in 30 years, you're the first person that hasn't bought into that and said that their life, that 10 years ago they couldn't have possibly foreseen what they'd achieved in that period of time. So, which is, I mean, it happens, but constantly I'm surprised at things that unfold for me. I mean, I just got invited to be a director of a huge company over in Australia. Well, I couldn't have foreseen that. I mean, that I couldn't have dreamt about it. It's a multi-million-dollar company that they've invited me to direct there. That wasn't even on the radar.
No, maybe it's my thoughts and my feelings about the things that I set. I know intrinsically they're based on values and beliefs of what's important to me. So that's where I operate from. Do you know what I mean? So maybe they're not so, you know, there are undoubtedly things that have happened that if I look back, I think, no, I didn't think, you know, I didn't think I'd have my own radio show. but then I never thought about having my own radio show. They're things that have just happened along my journey. You know what I mean? The things that I set out to do. My ex-husband used to say that as soon as I've got a thought of something I want to do, I'm like an exocet, it's going to happen. So I guess that's kind of my way. If it's in my mind and I really want to do it, I'm going to do my version of your process. I'm going to take the action that I need to do to get there. So, you know, I'm sure there's going to be many surprises along the way that I haven't foreseen, but generally for myself.
Well, it's not a case. It's just that the exercise is, I won't do the next one because we might fall down another bloody hole, but the exercise
it's not
is.
A hole. No, it's just a difference.
No. But the exercise is, and possibly, you know, where your mindset's at is that you didn't allow yourself to relax. Right? I don't know. I ain't try and diagnose it, but 99.99999 recurring. The people 10 years ago, what they've got now has far exceeded what they could possibly have thought was going to happen. That's the crux of it, and so that goes on to say that that's happened by default, by just things happening. So imagine what can happen if you actually know where you're going,
if you put your mind to it.
That's
for sure.
That's basically the exercise.
I get that. And I'm sorry, I'm just not the best person maybe to say that too, because I spend my days doing that with people as well. And obviously I'm like you in terms of I'm not going to be fraudulent in what I propose to other people. I've got to be doing that same thing myself. Right? So
precisely.
And you know, that's very much the way. That's why I love to talk to people, to get their experiences, to get their understanding, so that we can share all of that knowledge, because there will be people that they've listened to you asking me that question, and hopefully they'll delete me going, yeah, I'm pretty cool because I managed to do that, because that's the way I'm right. Because the other one, you know, I know that from the work that I do and the work that you do, we know there's plenty of people out there, they know what it is they think they want, but they haven't got clear and they don't take the action.
Everyone,
that's everything.
Everyone knows. When I talk, I've spoken all over the world. Everyone in the audience says, well, I know that. Well, so, well, how's it working for you? How come I'm up here earning a nice few quid and you're down there listening to me? So, you know, how's it working for you? You know, can I help you to apply what you know? Because it ain't no use. See, the thing is now, knowledge is nothing.
Absolutely.
Because knowledge, every single person at their fingertips has got everything they want to know. Playing Scrabble last night, put word, click, straight away. Don't need a dictionary, don't need anything. You've got every single thing, every bit of information you could possibly need is at your fingertips. So knowledge ain't power. Application of your knowledge is power. So that it shifted, right? So, you know, every single person, and I had this conversation this morning about that they were saying about self-development and all that, and what's your greatest tip? I said, my greatest tip, if I can just one, to find one book and read it until you're an expert in that one book of self-development, and then read every book you can get hold of, because you know what will happen? You'll find out that they all saying exactly the same thing, just in different ways. Exactly the same thing. There ain't nothing new. No one can claim this. This is it. Know where you're going, make where you are where you want to be, and get rid of all the rubbish from the past. That is it. In essence, that's it. And people confuse themselves. And I say, it's really, you read a book and you go, yeah, this is the one. Oh, earn £1 million in 3 minutes. Oh, this is the one. I'm going to do it. And you read it and you go 3 minutes later, you're still skinned. That ain't work. Throw that in the bin, get another one. So you do all that, right? But it doesn't, it's like giving a mechanic 4 pistons from different cars, a cylinder head from another one, and wheels from something else, and this, that, and the other. Now, if he can't build a car out of all the odd bits, you can argue that he's got all the bits he needs, can't you?
Yeah.
But none of them make any sense. So it don't make him a bad mechanic. It just means that he's got the wrong bits. So by reading every book you can get hold of, with someone saying, oh, well, I won't call it a destination, I'll call it something else. I won't. It's just people put different words. I call everything. It's like relax, 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 circle of thought, worry-free island. They're all my little bits just to trigger me. It's for my thing.
That's right. Yeah.
That gives me the story or the journey, but it just it brands me. But circular thought, no one had ever thought of calling it that till I called it circular thought. I got even Bob Proctor got hold of me. Said, that's a good one, Croz, right? So like, but it's just a case of all the information is there for everybody.
Yeah.
The difficult bit is applying it.
Yeah.
But once you do, everything changes. Everything changes.
I think I know that's spot on, because until we exactly as you say, there's so much information out there, and we can be sucking different bits and taking it in and doing a bit of this and doing that. Exactly as you say, though, just learn to do that one thing really well, understand it beautifully, and then output it.
See that?
Yeah.
You know what that is?
Is it your journal? Or your
That is the first edition the first edition of The Science of Getting Rich. Now look what that was used to be called.
Financial Success Through Creative Thought. Cool.
The Science of Getting Rich. That's the first edition of it. I treated myself to that. That cost a nice few quid, that did, right? Cool. And you know what? See how close it is to me? Because do you know why? Because that's got the smell about it, the energy, this, that. And yet I read that book. If I haven't read that 300 times, then I'm a liar. I just read it. And do you know what happens? And this is I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I know a lot more than a lot of people, because I've spoke about it every day for 30 years. So I'm entitled to have a few answers.
Yeah.
Every time I read that, it's like reading a different book.
Yeah.
I read a chapter and I go, oh God, that makes so much sense now. Right. And it ain't the guy that wrote this was any cleverer. He's just put the format down. That just it gets the juices flowing.
Absolutely.
So it's like reading a new book. It's magic. But in there is all you need to know. In fact, it was so good that am I allowed to show you this? But in my book here, look, free gift copy of The Science of Getting Rich in Plain English. What I did in the back of here and the last bit, I rewrote it because it had all wherewithouts and therefores, and it was a bit heavy going to read. So I just rewrote it exactly as he wanted it, but in English, plain English, right?
Cool.
And it's so powerful. I put it in the back of that book so that people ain't got to go looking for it. They just do it. Because that is what everything that I do is based on that.
Perfect.
And so how clever was that man? 100.
So that's your exemplar. So
but all that time ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But you see, the thing is that now that he don't get much credit, old Wallace Wattles. You got Napoleon Hill. Now Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich has actually nicked lines, not the thoughts or ideas.
The whole lines.
Earl Nightingale, in his book called This Is Earl Nightingale, released in I think 1950 something odd, right? Lifted complete passages out of that book and never credited him. He's credited everyone else. He's credited Socrates, Aristotle, and everyone, but not poor old Wallace. And I believe through all I've read,
not the person that he stole from.
No, and I've gone back even further. There's a thing on a facility on the online called the Gutenberg Press, which takes you back, and you can get all things by all the early adopters, Emerson and all that lot.
Yeah.
And and Wallace actually packaged it all up. That was the new age, the 1900 to 1910. Do he wrote a book called The Science of Getting Rich, and all his life he was skint until the last few years of his life. That's when he found the power.
Yeah.
He wrote that because he'd seen all this other stuff from other people. He was poor as a church mouse, old Wallace. He got tied up with a woman who was the publisher at the time called Elizabeth Cowley, and she published the book for him, and he used to write regularly for a magazine called Nautilus, which was a new age magazine about, you know, it was a thought thing. They was all together, all the people together.
Cool.
And he come out and he put that together, and it's just amazing that all that long ago. And even now, everything holds true, because as I say, it was thousands of years old when he got hold of it, but he's just put it down in the right format to sort of be able to move forward. And
you've done something really cool by putting it in your book so that people can read it in a simple format.
Straight away, I refer to it in the book. You know, that's not a self-help book. That's just a book of things that have happened that I think are interesting things. You know, there's all different bits and pieces. How I, you know, come up with the thing of, you know, happiness is the thing that we're all looking for, and we shouldn't be looking for it. We should be creating it now, and then allowing the happiness to do the work. But
I love that. I love that. It's been really interesting to talk to you, and I think we'll maybe have another one, or we will have another one in the future. So it seems like a kind of good way for us to round up this conversation. So 3 quick tips, and then flash your book again, and then at the end tell them where they can get it from. So 3 tips for anyone who's listening, although I think you've given so many tips already, but they may as well have 3 easy ones at the end.
Right, 3 easy ones. Get one book, whatever you decide, and read it to the exclusion of everything else until you understand it and believe it. Things will start happening, and then read all you can get. Cool. That's the first tip. The second tip is your mind needs 100% of the data or information to make a decision. Your stress, anxiety, and worry on your depression is purely and simply you trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. So if you've got stress and anxiety, ask yourself 2 questions. Have I done all I can? Is there anything else I can do? And if you answer yes or no to those 2 questions, put a caveat on it and saying, I know I'm going to leave you now, but if you ever become a real problem, I'll visit you and I'll sort you out, and stop worrying about it. And the third one is make where you are where you want to be. That is so important. Don't put things off. If you're saying, I wonder what it'll look like if that wall was blue, paint it blue. What would that look like with that? Make where you are where you want to be. And I tell you something, where you are ain't a bad place.
I love that. That's brilliant. That's really cool. Thank you for the conversation and the 3 tips. Now show us the book.
And then you want me to do that again?
Yes. So where can they buy your book?
Tell us another. Just go to www.croz.uk.com. And then you get it there. No postage, all $12.99. And listen, I've had some good reports. So I obviously I think it's good because I wrote it, but you know, a lot of people they do take the effort.
I better get a copy and read it. Thanks ever so much for spending some time with us and sharing some stories. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. And as I say, we'll have that catch up sometime.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks ever so much. Have a great day.
Much.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.